गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Panchadashi, chapter 12, Brahmanande Atmanandaha. This is the Anand Mimamsa that is taking place, means exposition on the Ananda. The truth, as we have all heard, read, studied, known, is Sat Chit Ananda Swarup, and the first 5 chapters of the Panchadashi were addressing the Sat aspect, the existence aspect. The second set of 5 chapters were addressing the Chit aspect, and these last 5 chapters from 11 to 15 are addressing the Anand aspect of the reality. First chapter, the 11th chapter we saw was Brahmanande Yoganandaha, and this one is Brahmanande Atmanandaha. And last week we saw a very fascinating topic on Mukhyatma, Mithyatma and Gaunatma. Just before I go ahead, you tell me what was Gaunatma? Gaunatma was?
Father, son, mother, daughter.
So,
Yes.
but how would you explain that?
Roles.
What are the roles which are caused because of something or someone? Whatever role is there, it will be always because of something or someone, and that is called Gaunatma. And then what is Mithyatma? Mithyatma is
Me, the body.
identification with the body, breath, mind, intellect is the Mithyatma, the illusory self. This is the secondary self. The first one was secondary self. This is the illusory self. And Mukhyatma means what?
That is the
That which you
consciousness.
essentially are. That is the Mukhyatma. And we saw also that sometimes, not sometimes, most of the times people make Gaunatma as Mukhyatma. They make the relative, the roles that they play as the most important aspect of their life. Some people who have weaned their mind away from that aspect, they make their body as the main focus of their life. Some people make breath as their main focus of the life. Some people make the mind or the intellect as their mind as the main focus of the life. And as long as they are on this, they are in the Mithyatma. Then how it was told that Mukhyatma is the essential self, then how, while we are still in the body, what was defined as the Mukhyatma? We told you that in the Vijnanmaya Kosh, in the intellectual sheath, the I thought appears, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And in the mental sheath, that thought appears. Consciousness expressing through the mirror of the mind or the prism of the mind expresses as I thought and that thought. I thought always remains the same, that thought keeps changing. Because of that changing that thought, sometimes this I as if believes himself to be the Gaunatma, sometimes he takes himself to be the Mithyatma. When does he take himself to be the Mukhyatma then? Only when he is in the intellectual sheath and he is contemplating on what is the nature of this I. Okay? Because I am seeking the I that I am. So though I cannot be two, I can be only one, isn't it? So when all your focus, all your concentration, all your attention, all your awareness is on contemplating on that reality, either you call it Paramatma or you call it God, divine, pure consciousness, self, reality, or just merely what is this I? When this I, this is the intellectual sheath, this is the mental sheath, this is the breath sheath, and this is the gross body. This is the Paramatma. When this I contemplates on its own source, then it is also called as Mukhyatma. Because this I and the source are not two, they are one and the same. So in this way we saw the topic till last week. And everyone loves the self. Whichever self you take, whether you take the self to be the secondary self, whether you take the self to be the body, breath, mind, intellect, whether you take the self to be the I, you love the self, isn't it? Now, this love is going to be expounded upon. What is this love? How many types of loves are there? What do we love? What do we not love? Not love. So, beginning here, not beginning here, here only. So, till the last verse was. So, these three, they are determined by their point of reference that was told. And now in the 50th verse, the conclusion was, we saw this conclusion, tatra tatrochite pritihi, tatra tatrochite pitihi, atmanyevati shayini, atmanyevati shayini, anatmani tu tatsheshe, anatmani tu tatsheshe, प्रीतिरन्यत्र no bhayam, प्रीतिरन्यत्र no bhayam. In the respective dealings, love for the primary self is extreme, and for the other secondary things that are helpful to the primary self, there is only love, not extreme love. For things other than these two, neither primary self nor the helpful things, neither love nor extreme loves are seen. So, everyone has, now this is the love, the preeti they are talking about, this for the self, for the Atma, everyone has extreme love. Nobody wants to die, nobody wants to give up their self to be who they are. Whether you love yourself, whatever you do to yourself, it is only because you love yourself and you love those people. So that is the most extreme. It is seen everyone loves their own self with intensity, with love, and that is called as ati priti, extreme love. Whatever is helpful to bring you back to your, or someone is enhancing your love for yourself, that person is the moderate love. That person you love moderately or mediocrely. That person, and what is the next one? Anatmani tu tatsheshe priti ranyatra no bhayam. And in the next part, for such transaction, for in each specific context, Atma alone is the point of the highest love. When Atma, the self, is the point of highest focus or highest love, it is called ati priti. So the first type of love is the extreme love. Ati means extreme. Other way, extreme yoga, not transcendental. Extreme love. The supreme love is only for the Mukhyatma. Everyone has this ati priti only for the Mukhyatma. It cannot be for the other, because Mukhyatma is always the same. It's always remaining the same. Which one considers as one's own self. When this is analyzed and understood, then it will be clear that whatever gives the greatest happiness to the self is that for which there is highest love. So, with a cool mind, without thinking that, oh my God, this is too deep or this is too hi-fi. No, just they are only narrating what is obvious, what is going on in your life on a daily basis, moment to moment basis. This is going on, and what is that? That you love yourself the most. Everything else you are ready to. No, I love my parents the most. Why did you leave them in India and come? Isn't it? Then why do you leave them and go away for trips? If you love them the most, then you will stay there all the time doing whatever is required to be done. Let it be wife, let it be kids, let it be society, all that is temporary only. It cannot be the Mukhyatma. Mukhyatma. So in this way, it will be clear that whatever gives the greatest happiness to the self is that for which there is highest love. So now here how they have taken it is, we have been saying Mukhyatma is the self, right? But there is another angle of looking at it. If you have put all your eggs in the basket of the role of being a father or a brother or a son or a teacher or a student, then that becomes the Mukhyatma, because suppose it gives you great joy. It gives you great joy to be a student, to go to a satsang, to study the scriptures, to sit in meditation, then that will become the Mukhyatma, isn't it? If it gives you great joy to do yoga and pranayama, then what will become the Mukhyatma? What will be the Mukhyatma? The Mithyatma will become the Mukhyatma, meaning that is where you get the most joy from. And for whom is the joy? The joy is always for the self. But what is the definition of the self there? As the Mithyatma. And if you ask any married person or a person who is in love, for them the role of a lover, of the beloved, or being a father, or being a mother, or being any role that they are playing, that my family, my children, my grandchildren, my this, my that, my house, my car, my possessions. So where is their attention? It's not on the self, it is not on the body, breath, mind, intellect, it is on something other than them, isn't it? Then that becomes the primary. But the rule is, whatever may be whatever you may superimpose the primary as, that primary one gives you the most joy, isn't it? Till you, suppose Gaunatma gave you the most joy, then for you as an individual, that role, that secondary self has become the primary self. If doing yoga and pranayama gives you the greatest joy, then the Mithyatma has become the Mukhyatma for you. Isn't it? So in this manner they are explaining. For that which is secondary, there is moderate love. What is secondary? Secondary is that which helps you to get, which helps you in experiencing that extreme love. That is secondary. Anyatra na ubhayam. For that which is not useful, there is no love, there is neither supreme nor secondary, one is indifferent. And that word is ubhayam, no bhayam. For both, he is, indifferent. Another word for that indifference is upeksham. The meaning of anyatra and na ubhayam is explained. Here it is told in the next verse, the word upeksham. Upeksham dveshyamithyan yada. Upeksham dveshyamithyan yada. Dvedha marga trunadikam. मार्गतृणादिकम् उपेक्ष्यं व्याघ्रसर्पादि द्वेष्यमेवं चतुर्विधम्. For other objects, the attitude is of two kinds, namely indifference and dislike. For other objects, that means those which are not helpful for you to experience the love, because everyone in life is only seeking love. They are not seeking knowledge. Whether it is through communication, whether it is through experience, whether it is through eating, whether it is through sleeping, whether it is through relationships, whether it is through possessions, whether it is through travel, whether it is through studying, we want to be complete, we want to be accepted, we want to be loved. And that can never happen from outside, it can only happen by yourself. So everything else that is not conducive, that is that which is not helpful in you experiencing the love, extreme love, it is told that is of the attitude is of two kinds, namely indifference and dislike. So that there are so many things here. Right now, where is your attention? Where is your attention right now? On the speech, on the talk. So that is reminding you of the self. So extreme love. I am there or not there, it does not matter, because that knowledge which is being communicated here, it is available in books, it is available from other teachers also, isn't it? So I become this person from whom you are getting it is a helpful means for you to experience that extreme love. So this person becomes the secondary, right? The mediocre love towards this person. Right now in this room there are so many things, there is chest out drawer, sofa, carpet, everything. It is not giving you any, your attention is not on it, so you are indifferent to all these things in the room, isn't it? And yet if someone comes through the door and bangs the door and closes the door, goes through the room, what will be there? There will be dislike and hatred. Why is this person doing this? Doesn't he know there is satsang going on? See? And why is that dislike? That also is because you don't want to be disturbed. The continuous flow of love that is going towards the direction of the self, you don't want it to disturb. Therefore the hatred. So now in this manner, now let's see the explanation. The attempt of the teacher in talking about the different types of Atmas is to help the student understand that the supreme love is only for one's own self. So this is, I have already reiterated this point, that everyone loves their own self the most. And if you think you don't, then please analyze your life. Firstly, depending upon the particular worldly transaction, the particular Atma temporarily becomes Mukhyatma, for which we have supreme love. I have just now explained this to you. That sometimes the Gaunatma becomes the Mukhyatma, sometimes the Mithyatma becomes the Mukhyatma, and Mukhyatma is always the Mukhyatma. But we superimpose it on others. We take that to be the primary. We forget the self and we take the roles to be the most important. We forget the real self, we take the body to be most important. We forget the self, we take the breath to be most important. We forget the self, we take the thoughts to be more important. All this is to be, in Vedanta, only the self, The thought of the self is the Mukhyatma. Since this Mukhyatma is temporary, the Atipriti is also temporary. Since the Mukhyatma, as a role, as the roles that you are playing, as a Gaunatma, one moment you are son, next moment you are a teacher, third moment you are a cook, fourth moment you are a brother, because that you cannot decide. Whatever comes in your life will determine what transaction you are is expressing out of you. So it keeps changing. So how can it be primary? How can it be the Mukhyatma? So that means Mukhyatma is continuously changing. But Mukhyatma is that which never changes. But we have put it, superimposed it on the Gaunatma. So if the rule was everyone loves their own self extremely, and as long as we have superimposed this self on the role that we are playing, and the roles keep changing, then our extreme love will also keep changing. For one moment, as a son, the love is as the son, extreme love for the son, because it is giving you joy for that moment. Then next moment it is as a teacher. Then third moment it is as the eater of the food. Third moment, I must go for a drive. It's a beautiful weather. So the roles keep changing, and your source, whatever is reminding you, the reminder of the extreme love, is also changing, and therefore it is not a continuous source of love, because the role appears, stays for some time, then goes away. Then the next role appears, stays for some time, goes away. So the love is discontinuous, so it cannot be the lasting one. Secondly, those who are helpful to the Mukhyatma receive ordinary love, Priti, and at third level are those for whom there is neither love nor extreme love, neither Priti nor Ati Priti. Anyat upeksham dveshyam iti dvedha. The others, anyatra, are of two kinds, to which one is indifferent and those which one dislikes or hates. Towards objects like stone or grass, one is indifferent. I gave you the example. In this room there are so many different things. You are indifferent to them because your attention is not, they are neither beneficial nor not beneficial for your to love yourself. Vyagraha sarpadi dveshyam evam chaturvidham. Towards objects like tigers, snakes, the attitude is one of dislike or hatred. In this way, there are four types of attitudes: supreme love, moderate love, indifference, and dislike. These attitudes are not stable. We go through life continuously, this keeps changing depending upon the transaction that is taking place. Continuously it keeps changing. They keep changing. The meaning of Mukhyatma thus goes on changing in the relative world. The meaning of Mukhyatma keeps on changing in the relative world means sometimes the Gaunatma is taken to be the Mukhyatma, sometimes the Mithyatma is taken to be the Mukhyatma. And sometimes Mukhyatma, the I thought, contemplation on the self is taken to be the Mukhyatma. And in this way, we are on a roller coaster ride. This is said in the next shloka. Atma shesha upeksham cha, Atma shesha upeksham cha, dvesham cheti chaturshvapi, dvesham cheti chaturshvapi, nyavyakti niyama kintu, nyavyakti niyama kintu, tat tat karyat tatha tatha, tat tat karyat tatha tatha. Among the four things, namely the primary self, things supporting the self, things towards which one is indifferent, and the things that are disliked, There is no firm classification of things to be such and such always. However, depending upon their position and purpose, they are accordingly considered. What do you mean by their position and their purpose? Depends where you are in the world, at what time, at what place, with whom, under what circumstances, what is your attitude, it all depends upon the attitude. Where is what is your attention on? These attitudes of supreme love towards Mukhyatma, ordinary love towards Gaunatma, indifference and dislike towards other things are not firm, nor there is any firm rule about these four attitudes. They keep on changing, depending upon a particular situation and circumstances. The value given to things and persons changes, and so also does the attitude towards them. Based upon various situations and circumstances, we get our attitudes also change. So, do we have any control over who's going to come in front of us? Do we have any control over what car is going to come and cut through in front of us? See? Do we have any control? We don't have any control. But that will determine. See, one moment someone comes, bang, 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 bang. Oh man, who is this? Dislike. Why this person came and disturbed the class? Immediately he comes in. Swamiji, I got a good news. It's okay, you sit down first. No, Swamiji, I got a good news. You must listen. What? I bought you a lottery ticket and it has just won. Suppose. Immediately dislike gone. And what? Atipriti. Supreme love. You are the bestest friend, man. I'm sorry I became angry with you. Don't mind. Isn't it? So, one moment the circumstances were different. Next moment the circumstances were different. So, it keeps changing. One moment it keeps changing. How is this seen in the world is illustrated through an example. Syadvyaghra sammukho dveshyo Syadvyaghra sammukho dveshyo Yupekshastu parang mukhaha Yupekshastu parang mukhaha Lalanadanukulaschet Lanadanukulaschet Vinodayeti sheshatam Vinodayeti sheshatam. It says, when a tiger is facing us, it is worthy of dislike. When it is going away, one is indifferent to it. If reared as a pet, useful for entertainment, it is considered as an object of love. So all different. Same, tiger is same, but your attitude towards the tiger is different depending upon the situation, isn't it? This is an observation that is being made so that we recognize that in the world, this is how we are moving through in the world. Don't put, normally human beings are just, it's a sheep mentality. The life is just pulling us along. We don't even know what is happening to us. We don't even know that we have any choice or not. We think we have a choice, but we don't know how to exercise that choice. Here it is told how to exercise that choice. Last time it was told Mukhyatma, Mithyatma, Gaunatma. Now it is told you love extremely the Mukhyatma, and this love is expressing in four ways. One is the extreme love. Second is the secondary love, that whichever is helpful towards the supreme love. And then third is those things which are not useful, you are indifferent to them, and those things which are, and there are certain things in life which are hateful or you dislike them. And here the example, perfect example. Why only Vyagra? You can take your wife, you can take your mother, you can take your husband, you can take your dogs. In one day we go through all these four with them, isn't it? All four. A question is raised, if attitudes change so much, how are we to conduct ourselves with no rule to guide us? This is answered. If we are at the mercy of these attitudes, then how do we guide ourselves? We want peace of mind. And we don't have any control over who's going to come in front of us. We don't have any control over what situation in life is going to be presented to us. And if the mother comes in front of me, automatically the son comes out before you know it. Gaunatma. Little bit scratching comes, immediately Mithyatma is expressing. Immediately. And at that time, that scratching, the Mithyatma is scratching and it becomes the Mukhyatma. Because that scratching is giving you supreme joy. The itch. See? So towards this, in the 54th verse, Vyakti nam niyamo ma bhut, Vyakti nam niyamo ma bhut, Lakshanatu vyavasthitihi, Lakshanatu vyavasthitihi, Anukulyam pratikulyam, Anukulyam pratikulyam, Dvaya bhavascha lakshanam, Dvaya bhavascha lakshanam. It says, there may not be any criteria or to label things as primary, secondary, etc. However, they can be considered as favorable, unfavorable and indifferent depending upon a particular situation and characteristic. The teacher says, Vyaktinam niyamo ma bhut. Ma is here no. Let there not be a set of rules about our attitude towards objects and persons. One need not be over concerned, because that attitude will automatically express. So don't be over concerned. Then what is to be done? Lakshanat tu anukulyam pratikulyam cha dvaya bhavaha. Lakshanam vyavasthitihi. There are some characteristics which indicate how one should act in each situation. That we know. A general guideline can be what is favorable is loved, what is not favorable is disliked, and where the object is neither favorable nor unfavorable, one is indifferent. Therefore, even if there are no standard rules, it is not difficult to know what the attitude would be. We know. If someone has to be really dumb to not to know that what his attitude in a given situation is. We can be sitting here and I can be teaching with an inspired attitude, but some days, for some time, if I am in a different mood, I know that I am not giving 100%. I know that I am not present, for whatever the reason. Nobody can deny that, because you know what situation you are in. You know you are happy or you are not happy. People may not come to know, but you know that you are giving attention to body, you are giving attention to the roles, or you are giving attention to the self. You know at any given moment. So recognize, that's all has to be done. Only recognition is required. And recognize this is how we function. Because once you know that this is how you function, then something can be done about it. Then something can be done about it. But if you don't know only, ignorance is bliss. Continue doing, doesn't matter. So from the last 5 verses, from where we started today, from there till here, till from verse number 50 till 54. Now that thought about ati priti, that is being summarized. Atma preyan priya shesho, Atma preyan priya shesho, Dveshopekshe tadanyayoho, Dveshopekshe tadanyayoho, Iti vyavasthito loko, Iti vyavasthito loko, Yajñavalkyamatam cha tata, Yajñavalkyamitam cha tata. Here it says, the self is dearest while the helpful things are dear. Things other than these two, that is the tiger etc. and the grass etc. are worthy of hatred or indifference. In this way, the world is maintained. This classification of things as dearer, dear, etc. is also accepted by Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was a rishi, and there are different ways of looking at the creation. Some say it is from look at it from the point of Ishvara and Prakriti. Some people look at it from energy point of view. Some people look at the creation from the various spheres of experience point of view. And here another way of looking at the creation from dearest, dear, indifferent and dislike or hatred. From this angle it has been approached. And in this way, the Mukhyatma is thus dearer than all others. Those that support the Mukhyatma are dear, the others invoke either dislike or indifference. This is what is called samsara, this is what is called world. This dearest, dear, indifferent and dislike, this continuous fluctuation of these four, continuous, it's going on, and that is what the samsara is, which begins with the thought of mine and not mine. So I and not I. This is the root cause of it. Not mine is separating yourself from the whole creation. Essentially you are the one, but you alone are expressing as the I thought and the not I thought. As long as the fecal matter is in our bowels, everything is included in the definition of I. The moment you go to toilet and pump it out, it becomes not I. As long as the nails are growing on your toenails, they are I. The moment you cut them up, they are not I. Hair is on your head, it is I. So many hours are spent in front of the mirror, but the moment you cut it, it is not I. See? It's both I and not I. The interaction between these two is the cause of the creation, is the cause of samsara. Recognize this. We are not telling to do anything else. Just recognize that this is what is taking place. Both are supported by you. You yourself are the I, and you yourself are the thoughts of the not I also, isn't it? Can the thought of not I called the chair or the sofa or the carpet or the house or the whole world, can it come without you being there? So when I say I know the universe with all the things in the universe, as many as I can know. Do you know this thought? Yes, I just now said it. So you must be separate to the I thought, and you must be separate to the thought of the universe. Both are supported by you alone. That is the Mukhyatma, the one which is supporting both. Recognize this, that's all. And that recognition will not come just because you want to. That desire is necessary. But along with that desire, a single pointed focus, a cool disposition towards this foundation, towards this substratum which is supporting the both, the I and the not I, which is supporting the Mukhyatma, the Mithyatma and the Gaunatma. Okay. Because that self witness is not also other than you. That witness is not behind that wall. That witness is not above the clouds. That witness is not in the meditation. That witness is you only. That has to come on. And it is always with you. It is here, there. You are the witness of everything that is going on right now at this very moment. But how to remain steady there without getting distracted by the Gaunatma or the Mithyatma? How to remain steady by not getting disturbed by the dislike or hatred, by the indifference, by the dear and the extremely dear. How to remain aloof, not even aloof, how to remain as I am. That is the trick. For that, this knowledge, this is one angle of approaching it, is being expounded. The attitude of minus is what makes one categorize persons, objects and experiences as meriting atipriya, priya, dvesha and or upeksha. Now you notice when in your daily life these four expressions come about. If someone comes about and immediately your mind reacts, dvesha, hatred, a dislike. If someone comes and goes away, situations come and go away, you are not disturbed, indifferent. Someone comes, Hamaji, let's have a satsang. Okay, let's have a satsang. Dear, he is very dear. Because whenever I am in that person's company, we have satsang. Extremely dear. Because all these bring me to, give me joy, give me happiness. And there are times when I am happy with myself, that I did well, that I did this, that I did that. Tatcha Yajnavalkya matam opinion. This is what Yajnavalkya also, the Rishi also concluded. When Bhagavan Krishna speaks from the point of view of devotion, the Mukhyatma is the devotee. Bhaktaste ativa me priyaha. See, this is where sometimes people get very confused. In Bhagavad Gita, one place the Lord says the devotees are very dear to me, and in another chapter he says the Jnanis are very dear to me, they are not other than me. And the one who is studying Bhagavad Gita, he goes on a sixer. Oh, what happened to me? Oh, this was not a sixer, bouncer. One moment, I think he's talking a very confused language. One place he says the devotees are very dear, one place he says the Jnanis are very dear. But the Lord is very clear what he's saying. How can, if he himself gets confused, then where we stand? So that is why a teacher is required when we study the scriptures. you cannot understand all the subtle connotations that are given in the scriptures. There are many places, one line the Lord is taking the position of a man that he is as a human being. Very next line he is taking the position of the divine person that he is. But how do you come to know that? For that, contemplation is required, meditation is required, clarity is required, the sequence of the thought that is being developed, that is required. The more your mind is empty, all these nuances will click themselves in your mind. It doesn't happen just by reading. This is when Bhagwan is talking in the language of Dvaitam. But when he talks about in the chapter 7, he declares that the Jnani is supremely dear to me because the Jnani and I are not two. We are not two. So now which one is greater? The devotee is greater or the Jnani is greater? We should not get into such. These are points of discussion. You can discuss, but nothing is going to be gained out of it. Only more agitation. There the Jnani is Mukhyatma to the Lord. So before, for the Lord when he was, because Lord is teaching, for him the devotee was the Mukhyatma, and here later on in the 7th chapter the Jnani is the Mukhyatma for the Lord. Thus, this is the significance of Yajnavalkya's exposition on the Mukhyatma and the supreme love for one's own essential nature. Now the teacher quotes some more references to substantiate these observations. Anyatrapi shruti praha Anyatrapi shruti praha Putradvittat tathanyatah Putradvittat tathanyatah Sarvasmadantaram tattvam Sarvasmadantaram tattvam Tadetat preya ishyatam Tadetat preya ishyatam. He says, in other scriptural statements like Purusavidha Brahmana, also it is said that the self, that is the innermost, is supremely dear than sun, wealth and other things. Thus, the scriptures declare the innermost self to be supremely dear, and self must therefore be accepted as dearest. So what is most dearest to us? The Mukhyatma. What is the Mukhyatma? The self. And why we should express, he has given some examples, but at the same time, that merely giving examples is not enough. In the Vedanta Paddhati, he has to substantiate it by other references to the same thought from other scriptures, which are scriptures of authority. In other places also, Shruti declares that in comparison with sun, wealth and everything else, that principle that is very close to us and very dear to us is the very core of our personality. The Shruti says that supreme love is only for the Pratyagatma, immediate self, and for nothing else. Having started the chapter with the statement that everything is loved in this world only for the sake of the Supreme Self, the discussion is brought back to the same theme that Atipriya, extremely dear, is only this self. So the first in this chapter, in chapter 12, the word Atipriya was brought, that that self is the most dear to us and not anything else in this world. And there we saw how in the beginning of this chapter Yajnavalkya told, the Rishi Yajnavalkya told, that the husband is not dear for the sake of the husband, but it is dear for my sake. A child, we love a child not for the sake of the child, but for my sake. So that thought was kept aside. Mukhyatma, Mithyatma and Gaunatma was brought. Then now Atipriya, Priya, Upeksha and Dveshya was brought. And now again we are reverting back to the same statement that the most dear to us in our life is the self and self alone. Now the teacher explains the purpose for which this thought has been dwelt upon for so long and with such detailed vichara inquiry. So we must be also wondering why he's going off in a tangent and what is the purpose of all this. Now it comes. This is what I find when we follow a master's teachings, let it be Shankaracharya, let it be Krishna, let it be any great master. There is no room of doubt left, but if you listen to it completely, not halfway, but listen to it completely. Have patience. Have the patience to go through the whole process of thinking, because that thinking will always bring you back to what is the reason that we are studying all this. And the reason is never just intellectual appreciation. No, it is always to bring you back to the self. So here it says in the 57th verse, Shrautya vichara drishtyayam, Shrautya vichara drishtyayam, Sakshyevatmana chetaraha, Sakshyevatmana chetaraha, Koshan pancha vivichanta, Koshan pancha vivichanta, Vastu drishtir vicharana, Vastu drishtir vicharana. According to the vision of the scriptural inquiry, the witness alone is the primary self and not others such as sun, gross body, etc. So, according to the scriptures, what are the scriptures of authority? They are Brahma Sutra, there are Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita. They are the main three. And according to them, what is the self? The witness itself is the self. What is the witness? When well, you can say it this way, or you can, the example that I gave you before. One is the eye looking at all these and not getting disturbed is the witness. And when this has been practiced by you in life for a long period of time, that you don't get sucked into the intellect, you don't get sucked into the breath or the body, remain aloof from the senses, from the breath, from the senses, all the likes, the seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, they will come through the body, but you are not disturbed. Because of the breath, the hunger and thirst will come, but you are not disturbed. Because of the emotions, likes, dislikes, love, hatred, but you are not disturbed. Honor, dishonor, joy, sorrows, all this will come, but you, the I, are not disturbed. If you determine that you are the one who is essentially the Mukhyatma, and you are continuously contemplating on the Mukhyatma, on the self, on the essential self, then witnessing will start taking place. If you keep thinking about these, you never know when you will get sucked into it. The I will get attached to it. So I must contemplate on its source. When I contemplates on its source, automatically witnessing comes about after some time. And the scriptures say that this self is the witness. So by inquiring into and understanding the scriptures, one develops a vision of wisdom. And what is this wisdom? This is the wisdom, that you are essentially the witness. In your presence, the I thought, this is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that you are the presence, and in your presence, the I thought and the that thought is continuously coming and going. You have the experience that thought is continuously changing. Sometimes that thought is Lalita, sometimes it's Amrit, sometimes it's the chair, sometimes the house, sometimes it's the things in the photograph up there, sometimes it's you. It's changing. But the I remains the same. This also is observed by me. This observer who is observing that this interaction is every thought is having this triad: knower, known, knowing. I, that, and the instrument which is bringing these two together, which is the mind. So knowing, experiencing, seeing, seer, seen, seeing, hearer, heard, hearing, experiencer, experienced and experiencing, knower, known, knowing, hearer, heard, hearing, taster, tasted, tasting. These three, subject, object, and the instrument of knowledge, these three put together is called one thought. And this is being observed by me all the time. It is going on. You have to just take one step back, slow down, and you can observe it. And once you observe it, be there, remain there. Don't jump back into the mind, because mind is only an instrument. It is an equipment to be utilized. But we think we are the mind. Because these triads are continuously coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, that river of thoughts that is coming and going, we think that I am, and we become a mithyatma or we become a gaunatma. But who are we essentially? The self, the witnessing self at any given moment. And then one comes to know that this Sakshi, who is able to know the sun, the wealth, the Gaunatma, and the Panchakosha Mithyatma, Sat Sakshi is Mukhyatma, and this is other than the two. So do you right now know all the relatives in your family? Yes, I know all the relatives in my family. Do you know that when those relatives, you think about them, or those relatives come into your life, you take the role of whatever is required with respect to that person who comes into your life? Yes, I know, I take. So you know all the Gaunatmas, because they come and go. You know them. Do you know that sometimes your attention is on the body, sometimes it's on the breath, sometimes it's on the mind, emotions, sometimes it's on the concepts and ideas, decisions, concepts, convictions? Yes, I know. So if you know, then you cannot be that which you know. If I know you, I have to be necessarily separate from you. Then only I can know you, isn't it? That's a simple rule. Then if I know that I take the various roles as Gaunatma, then I must be other than the Gaunatma. If I know that body, breath, mind, intellect are there, and that Mithyatma, sometimes I get attached to body, breath, mind, intellect. So I know that, so I cannot be the Mithyatma also, because I know the body, I know the breath, I know the mind, I know the intellect, I know the thoughts, I know the convictions. The knower has to be other than the known. Then the question comes, who is this fellow who knows the Gaunatma also and who knows the Mithyatma also? That is the true Mukhyatma. That is the witnessing self. That is the one which is the most dearest to us. In search for it, we go into sleep every night. We withdraw from the whole damn world only to come close to it. Alas, we do come close to it, but out of ignorance. See? This vision is developed and needs to be reflected upon again and again. Coming to the core, coming to the real. Real cannot be that which changes. Real is that which never changes. What is that which does not change? And what is that which changes? Everything that changes is born, it lives, and it dies after some time, right? That is what is ephemeral, that is what a relative thing is, that is what a mortal thing is, that is what a finite thing is. Anything that was not there before is there now, and after some time it will not be there. Agree? So that is unreal. Then what is real? That which was before, that which is now, and that which will be afterwards also. What is that?
Okay.
I, the self. So I was there before the thought, I was there during the thought, and I was there after the, I will be there after the thought. So I was there before I came to know you, I am there while I know you, and I will continue to be there even after you go away. Now this is at a very gross level. You are there before the breath begins, you are there when the breath is taking place, and you are there when the breath dies, the in-breath or the out-breath. So, without breath I cannot live. Majority people. Therefore fear of death. But if you take this position, fear of death vanishes, fearlessness comes, because you have come to the correct identity of yours. Those who are having dementia, forgetfulness, depression, sadness, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, priti, what do you call this? Priti, dvesha, upeksha, indifference. All these are conditions of the mind. All these are conditions of the mind. It has got nothing to do with you. You know that all these are coming and going. You were there before they came, you are there when they are expressing, and you continue to be there even after they are gone. Sit quietly in the room and come to the correct conclusion about yourself. The more we come again and again, hit at ourselves, again and again we fall back into ourselves, the real me, through proper inquiry, through proper analysis, it will become your natural state. It will become your natural state. But inquiry has to be done, not about the world, but the inquiry has to be done about who is this real me. Is the real me the one who goes to climb the Dandenong mountain? That's Mithyatma which is going there. Is the real me who goes to yoga or gym? That is the Mithyatma, because body identification is taking us there. I want to be fit, I want to be fit. Right now, who is functioning? Right now, in this environment, who is functioning in through you? All. If you're thinking, then you lost the plot. Then you're thinking, oh, I'm a student here. Then you are Gaunatma. But if you think, oh, I am a seeker, you are a Gaunatma. But at this moment, as the thought was getting developed, your mind was transported to the thought which cannot give you conclusion, but you are that. Then you are the Mukhyatma at that very moment. That very moment, you are the Mukhyatma. You are the witness at that very moment. But very next moment, you will try to work it out. You will try to justify. You will try to say, oh, was I not? Or but what does this mean? Or what does that mean? Immediately we lose the plot. And we fall down because we have given attention to something other than the self. That very moment. The moment thoughts start coming in our mind, we have moved away from the self. The moment thoughts start coming. There is nothing wrong with thoughts coming or not coming. But if we are miserable on account of the thoughts, if we are miserable, then we have lost the plot. Because mind's job is to think, let it think. You remain the witness. Witness is never miserable, witness is never excited. Both the emotions are expressed at the level of mind. You got nothing to do with it. You are independent of the mind. Yet, you alone are expressing as the mind. That will come later on. The Mukhyatma is nothing else we imagine when under the influence of ignorance. And therefore, by study and discrimination, one is able to slowly discard the 5 koshas, means the 5 sheaths, and discover the vision of one's own essential nature. That vision cannot come through studies of the books. That vision cannot come by listening. All that is required, but it must come to a point. It must come to a point where you become free or independent of thinking. Whether thinking is there or not, you continue to be. This is called contemplation and reflection. This is to be achieved. That which takes one away from oneself under the influence of habitual thinking is bondage. That thinking which is a hobby and hence joyful is discovering what is said in the scriptures, and slowly this vicharana, this thinking, leads to the vision of the pure self, antaravastu pratyagatma, and one attains aparoksha anubhuti, the direct experience. I see many people very seriously doing pranayam, doing yoga. I see many people very seriously, as if there is tension when they study the scriptures. When they are sitting in meditation, as if I don't know where they are putting their attention. No, it has to be absolutely no stress, no friction, no pressure, no tension. It has to be relaxed focus. That is what is required. That's when the best comes out of you. Time kya hai?
10 to 9.
That's when the best creativity comes out of you. See? That's when clarity comes to you. When there is relaxed focus, when there is intense focus, only headache comes. It's a knack. You have to develop that. The self is not because you think. Self is independent of your thinking. This recognition that I, at this very moment, am independent of all the thoughts that are appearing or not appearing in my mind, it has to happen. You cannot bring it about. If I say, you are that, and immediately your mind says, yes, I am that, you are caught up in the mind. And yet, if the mind says, I am that, and yet you know if it was said or not, it was uttered or not uttered, it does not matter. I am as I am. Independent of the world, independent of the body, breath, mind, intellect, independent of all convictions, ideas, theories, emotions. I support all of them, yet I am independent of all of them. Then you have, when you come to that point, when this happens, then this is the situation. And when this comes about and these start having no impact on this, a point will come when this fellow wants to know itself. Just like the eye wants to know itself. But it can never see itself. But do you know there is an eye or not? You know it, isn't it? But you have never seen your own eye, but you know it is there. You have never seen your own mind, but you know it is there. Similarly, this eye wants to know itself as an experience. It can never experience itself. It tries that, but it goes to sleep. When you remain awake and it happens, a realization will take place. You will fall, that is aparoksha anubhuti. That is the direct experience of the self. When the I, that witnessing I that I am, it becomes aware of itself. Right now you are looking at me, be aware of your eyes. Exactly the same way. This I, who is not disturbed by these fluctuations of the mind, it becomes steady. In that steadiness, automatically, it falls back into itself. Spontaneously it happens. It is not an act of will. It's not an act of a thought out conclusion. It will happen. And that is the conclusion. How is this inner vision of the self developed? Now the technique is being given. I have given you a little bit. I expanded what Swamiji has said, but let's see. Jagara swapna suptinam, Jagara swapna suptinam, Agamapaya bhasanam, Agamapaya bhasanam, Yato bhavatya savatma, Yato bhavatya savatma, Swaprakasha chidatmakaha, Swaprakasha chidatmakaha. It says that because of whom the arrival of the latter and the departure of the earlier states of consciousness, namely waking, dream and deep sleep states, is possible, that witness self-illumined consciousness is the primary self. When one is fully convinced that the Pratyak Atma is the only thing that is supremely dear to me, will one be able to inquire further? Once you have, because who are we? We are what our convictions are. That's what determines our life, isn't it? So if one day, one moment, you have become convinced you are a husband, from that day your life changes. You are a wife, you become convinced because you exchange the rings, your life will change. Because you have somewhere deeply in your psyche, you are accepted, you have become convinced, now I am a wife. I am in a relationship, I am belong. I have responsibilities, I am committed. So many things go with it. One day when you become convinced through scriptural study or sadhana, through regular contemplation, that you are you are the witness which is the most dear thing to you, and that is the most dear thing to you. You have been imagining that this is dear, parents are dear, wife and is dear, children are dear, dogs are dear, house is dear, properties are dear. But the day it clicks that all this is okay, but the most dearest to me is this self. Then at a drop of a hat, I am ready to renounce everything. I am ready to renounce. Meaning what? At a moment's notice, I give zero value to the entire world, come what may. Why? I have become convinced that I love this self the most. Because I am that self. I am that reality. I am that substratum. I have been hoodwinking myself into believing that I am the Mithyatma or I am the Gaunatma. Because the attention is on the Vyavahara, interactions, this truth may not be appreciated at first. Meaning, because our attention is on the world and the changes in the world, on our interactions of the world, the truth becomes, even though it is plentifully available all the time, but it doesn't become evident. It doesn't become evident. Then what is required? But gradually a stage will be reached when it will be accepted, although not experienced, that everyone without exception loves one's own essential self the most. At this point in the spiritual evolution, the question will arise as to how to discover this vision of this self, this I. This I is neither Gaunatma nor Mithyatma. The Jiva, who is now at the level of the Vijnanmaya Kosha, has decided to change his vision. By contemplation, the three outer koshas are dropped. The Vijnanmaya Kosh is also dissolved by absorption in its own essential nature. This is the Vijnanmaya Kosh, the I thought. I thought only appears in the intellectual sheath. And the intellectual sheath, these three sheaths, the body sheath, the breath sheath and the mental sheath, they are dropped away by not giving them importance. Why? Because you have become convinced in your mind, in your intellect, conviction happens in the intellect, that contemplating on this I is more important than contemplating on these three. Because if you contemplate on these three, they will take you out in the world, and before you know, you have forgotten the I. So the more I keep contemplating on the I, the impact of these three will reduce. And just like the intellectual, the intellect which made the decision, I want to sleep, I want to sleep, I want to sleep, gets absorbed in the sleep. Similarly, this I, who am I, who am I, who am I? This I gets absorbed into its own source. But it will only get absorbed in the source only when it has become immune. The witness has 99% of witnessing will not bring it about. 100% witnessing, meaning not even one eruption in the mind is able to disturb, attract or distract this I. Then this I comes to that point of self-absorption. The intellectual sheath where the decisions are then seeking, realization, wanting to know the self, everything vanishes because all that is in the womb of this intellect alone. And that whole intellect gets merged into gets sucked into its own source. Just like the whole intellect gets sucked into the sleep, same way it gets sucked into its own source. Where do all the roles go? Where do they go? They go back to their own source. And in this way, how is this inner vision developed? That because of whom the arrival and departure of the three planes of consciousness, the waking, dream and deep sleep states are illumined. That who is self-illumined, for the illumination of this Atma, no other Atma is required. Therefore, it is Swaprakasha, it is self-illuminated. Further, it is of the nature of pure knowledge. It is not Chittatmaka, it is not at the level of the mind. The self is self-effulgent, it is self-knowing. There is no other light which can illuminate it. So if we think that by thinking I am going to come to know myself, that means you are giving power to the thoughts and you have got a conviction that you must know the self through a thought, through an experience. You can know it through an experience. That is not possible. Why? The self is self-effulgent. It is self-knowing. It is self-conscious. And that you are. Don't forget that. You are that self. In this state of Chidatmakaha, the mind has disappeared. This is the vision that one has to practice, that I, which is self-illumined and is of the nature of pure knowledge, is ever present in and through all the three planes of consciousnesses, which come and go, Agama and Apaya. Once this knowledge, this vision takes place, one becomes immune to miseries and one is totally independent of worldly things. Thereafter, one has no hatred towards any being. We also know, do we know that yesterday we were waking, we were dreaming and we were sleeping. From childhood these three states have come and gone. How do we know? The waker was not available in the dream world and the deep sleep world. Then how does the waker make this statement that I was there? About the two, that I had a wonderful sleep, that I had a very scary dream or a lovely dream. Waker cannot go into the dream, then how did he come to know? So that means within us there is something in whose presence the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper are coming and going, which is supporting the waker, the dreamer and the deep sleeper. That real person, that one support is this witness. That is our true nature. So just like if you take I am the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, it will become Gaunatma based upon because of the waking world, consciousness is called waker. Because of the dream world, the consciousness is called dreamer. Because of the no world, deep sleep world, it is called as deep sleeper. So they become the relative roles that you are playing on a daily basis. That's your total world. So that becomes Gaunatma. But who is supporting these three? You know, every day these three came and went. That knower must be other than. And yet it is. So right now when I am speaking, I am the witness also, but I am at the same time the waking also is taking place, isn't it? So do you get lost in the waking experience or you stand apart from the world, from the body, from the Gaunatma, from the Mithyatma, from the Panchakoshas, from the interactions of the world? They will take place anyway. But you don't lose, you don't dilute yourself by giving too much importance to that. and you don't decide that I'm not going to give too much importance. You only do one thing, and that is give importance to the self. Come to this right conclusion about your own essential nature. Focus on the Mukhyatma. That's all. Everything else will start falling in place. And in this way, the topic continues, and we will see the rest of it in our next class. Just sit quietly for a minute, and then we'll conclude. Just stay with the thought. In fact, don't stay with the thoughts, stay with yourself as the self. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari